What's up, YouTube? Happy New Year and welcome to my pickups video for the month of December 2021. Very small video this month. I was planning on doing some travel this week while I was off work, and we all kind of saw how things panned out with that. So I decided instead to stay pretty close to home, which limited some of my exploration plans. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the stuff I did get this month. A couple of these were mail order things that I had been waiting for forever and finally showed up all at once. And then also some things that I bought online that I'd been just looking for as well. So I'm actually going to start with the new releases first. I did get a couple of PS4 games this month that had been pre-ordered, like I said, a long time ago. First one of these was Dangun Feveron for the PS4, and this was a limited run release, of course. This is a cave shooter from the late 90s from the arcade that was brought to the console by M2. So it's the typical quality job that M2 does. Overall, it's kind of surprising that this one came out after some of the more glamorous and more well-known cave shooters. But surprisingly, this game, although it's not visually flashy like some of the other ones, very solid game to play. I do remember playing the arcade game back in the day. One of my local game stores, I think, had it on one of their in-store candy cabs that you could play. So it was one of the games that I would play and pump some quarters into every time I would go up there. But very happy to have a home release of this. Saves me from buying the very expensive arcade board, and really just an enjoyable shooter that I played quite a bit more than I thought I would once I got it. So can highly recommend this if you like some of the cave shooters. It does have some of their manic style, but not as crazy as they got in some of the more recent years. So it's a little bit more accessible, I guess I would say. But yeah, very happy that this showed up from Limited Run. They did also give me their just generic newsletter for the months. This one didn't have like a cool game fan theme like some of the other ones have in recent months, so that one's kind of plain, but whatever. The other thing that showed up in the mail that was pre-ordered 13 months ago, I checked, was from Strictly Limited Games in Europe, and that is Clockwork Aquario. Very, very excited to get this game. As soon as this went up on pre-order, I was like, there is no doubt in my mind I'm buying this game. This is a long-lost arcade release that actually never saw the light of day other than a location test in Japan. And it is from the developers of Wonder Boy series and some other arcade games that were a little bit lesser known. Really enjoyed this game. It has incredible amount of colors on screen, something you don't really get with games today. Would have just been a big hit in my mind for that reason alone. The gameplay took a little bit of getting used to. It has some extra mechanics that they built in, like hopping on things, throwing enemy characters, stuff like that. And it takes a little getting used to, but overall it's pretty fun to play and easy to pick up and get going. It's a short game, of course. It was intended to be an arcade release. It never was intended to be a console game, but they did build in some extra things with this one, like some trophies and things like that to add a little replay to it. So very happy this finally saw the light of day. It took a very long time after numerous delays to land, but I'm very happy that it did. I think people that ordered the limited version are still waiting, so I'm very happy I just ordered the generic version, plain version, whatever you want to call it, and very happy for that. The other thing about this is, since they're numbered releases, this was a print run of 1800. Yeah, 1800, and I got number, I'll see if I can see that, number 83. So it's kind of unusual that I got a very low print number. Not that it increases the value or anything, but just kind of funny with some of the Strictly Limited releases. So don't really have great things to say about that company, but when they get something like this, it's just a very big exclusive that you can't get anywhere else. I guess you just have to wait and play on their terms. So very happy to get that game, and we'll be playing it some more, I'm sure, in the coming month. The next thing I got was based on the GameSack video that came out maybe a week or two ago, and it was one in his series of games that push console limits of the hardware, which is always something I kind of like to see, is like, you know, how much can your 16-bit system be stretched and things like that. So one of the games he featured in there is one that I've walked by like a million times, never really thought anything of it, and that is Kawasaki Superbike Challenge for the Sega Genesis. This one I always just assumed was just your typical 2D racer, plus I'm not really big into motorcycle racing, I like car racing, but it turns out this actually is a semi-polygon based game, and it definitely tried to push the limits of the hardware a little bit in the nature of having polygons in an early game that didn't have like the super chip added in like Virtua Racing did. So kind of interesting, I guess, as far as that nature. The gameplay of it is, it's got some problems. There's no music in the game when you're actually in the game itself, and some of the collision detection is a little bit wonky, but I appreciated what they were trying to do with this game. It's definitely not a classic by any means. This also came out on the Super Nintendo. I don't have that one either, but I heard that one's actually not any better than this. I think this one's actually the preferred version just because it moves a little faster. And then it even surprisingly got a release on the Game Gear. So I kind of want to check that one out now too. It's kind of an uncommon release on the Game Gear and the Genesis. The Super Nintendo one seems a little bit easier to find. So, you know, for the low price I got this for, it was worth the experiment. Obviously it's just loose, but I thought it was kind of neat to have, so decided to go ahead and grab it. 2 games I did buy this month that were kind of my Christmas splurge for myself. It gets me a little bit closer to my complete Neo Geo Pocket Color set that I am now 5 away from having. And I got 2 more of the exclusive releases for the system that are very cool. It came from the same seller on eBay. They packaged them very carefully. Games were in good shape, so I was very happy. First one of these is Puzzle Link, and this is one of the earlier puzzle games on the system. It's actually incredibly addictive. It's not really a whole ton to look at visually, but really plays incredibly well. Has, you know, kind of a neat concept to it in that I don't really know the best way to describe it, but basically all the puzzle pieces come from the top down, not from the, you know, you're not trying to like make sets on the bottom of the screen. They're at the top of the screen, and then they're working their way to the bottom, kind of like Puzzle Bobble style. But what you have to do is link certain colors or patterns together, and you might be like basically dancing across the screen to connect something that's all the way on the other side of the screen to make a match in this game and then eliminate pieces. Ultimately, you can keep on playing until the end piece comes out. There's basically like one piece that will designate that the level is over, and once you connect that piece, then the level ends and it moves on to the next one. They also tried to add some replay into this this was kind of when Pokemon cards were first coming out, so they added some in-game cards of the characters that you can collect, and then, you know, of course, got to catch them all in the game to truly beat the game. But really neat game and highly addictive, really enjoying playing this one quite a bit too, and then also just gets me a little closer to the set. And then, as I said, from the same seller, I bought one other game, and that is the sequel, Puzzle Link 2. So this one was actually one of the later releases for the system. You can tell that these had the adjusted packaging with the foil stripe along the top here. That was something they added to the late releases. Really more of the same. They made the visuals a little bit easier to discern with this one. Now that I've got a modded Neo Geo Pocket Color with really bright colors, it's very easy to see in the first place. But I can see on the original screen why you would want the benefits of the sequel, just to be able to tell some of the pieces and patterns apart. But same basic thing, they added more cards to collect with this one. You could also use the link cable and battle other people with this in 2-player mode. So really a nice puzzle game, and kind of a shame that these were console exclusive. They did never come to any other system that I'm aware of. This game was developed by a company called Yume Kobo that also put out a few of the other games for the Neo Geo Pocket Color. So they really liked, I guess, developing for the system, as well as the Neo Geo AES. They put out a few games on that as well. So very happy to get a little bit closer to this set. This has been quite possibly the hardest complete collection I've ever put together, and it's also probably the smallest if you look at the total number of games that were released for the system. Trying to collect these complete in the box is really just a complete nightmare at this point. The few people that bought them in the first place seem to be hanging on to them, and I'm really just finding that most of these games really were only found on the West Coast and maybe even the East Coast, and just didn't end up in the Midwest at all. So finding these in the wild for me is kind of a lost cause. It's more like just wait until they show up on eBay and then cross my fingers and place a bid, and maybe I'll win like I did with these. So really happy to getting closer to the set. I'm getting down to the wire with the last few that I need, and really the ones that I need are not the most interesting to play. It's just a matter of finding those difficult to get games. So really happy to get closer to the set, and look forward, if in 2022 I complete the set, be happy to make a video showcasing the whole collection, because I'm really eager to finish this. One of my most anticipated goals to wrap up. So I only have one other thing to show you this month, believe it or not. Like I said, very, very small month of pickups for me, abnormally small. Some of this is due to the market just being crazy right now, and some of it just due to lack of travel. So maybe January will be a little more interesting, and we'll see how it goes. But the last thing I got, I just picked up yesterday, and a new video game store that focuses on retro games actually just opened in the St. Louis area. I'm rather shocked by that. I think we've lost 4 stores since COVID hit, so it's not really the trend to be opening a retro video game store right now. But these folks did, and I went and checked it out yesterday. They haven't even had their grand opening yet. They were kind of still putting things in place. But nice people that were there working yesterday. I don't know if they were the owners or not. And ultimately, I didn't really see any games that I needed in stock. They did have some decent stuff, some things that probably you won't find at some of the other stores in town, but just nothing that caught my interest or nothing that I needed. So I did ask my customary question is, do you have any manuals for NES and some of the other older systems? And he brought out a short stack that was in the back. And very happy, I picked up one that I've been wanting, which is The Adventures of Spike McFang for Super Nintendo. This is actually a rather uncommon title for the system, and I've had the cartridge for a really long time. Just kind of looking to piece this one together over time. Maybe someday I'll get a box for it, but it's definitely a very difficult game to find. This game was published in the US by Bulletproof Software, and that's usually not a good thing. They typically put out like PC ports and puzzle games and things like that. But this was actually a Japanese-developed game by Naxat Soft, and really well-developed and interesting action RPG. So, can recommend this game if you get a chance to try it. It looks like even the cartridge is getting pretty pricey these days. But the manual itself here is in really good shape, so very happy to add that to my collection. Gets me a little closer to having that one complete. So, wish that store luck. We'll see how it goes. I'll probably visit again in the future and see how it looks once they're fully open, and maybe some more trades start to come in the door, but hopefully, things will go well. It's always nice to have another retro game store in town. So that about does it. Like I said, small month of pickups. Hopefully you enjoyed. Please take a moment, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. And I will talk to you soon. Have a great day or night, wherever you are.